So in order to wrap the pencils, obviously I do need the pencils. Then I've got the piece of paper with the pattern on I'm going to use. Then I'm going to use my cutting mat and a knife, but you could very easily just use a pair of scissors. A ruler would be an idea though, just so you know, make sure that you've got a straight line, and then we can get started. I've got, as you can see, with this pattern, it's a vintage wallpaper, so I've got sort of darker colours here and it's sort of lighter colours there, but that's what the original image looked like. So now I could decide whether I want to go with the lighter colours or the darker colours for my pencils, or a mix. I think I might just start on this side. As you can see, I've got this frame around here, and this usually happens when you print out an image. I don't know if there are any printers or that would print right to the edge, but normally you just have to take that into consideration, and you just cut off the extra bit, which I'm going to do now. This. One of the reasons I really like to use my cutting mat, apart from the fact that I can then use my craft knife, is also that I can use the lines to create really nice clean lines and also right angles. Right, I'll do this one. Obviously you could use if you were kind of like using wrapping paper for this, then you wouldn't have to go through this process. But apart from that, it's very similar. Right. Okay, then obviously I need to know how much of the paper I'm going to use. I've got this little bit, this end with the eraser, so I'm just going to have the paper up to here, and I also don't want to go too far up to this point, so I'll just have the paper kind of up to there. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to turn the paper around and I'm going to make a little mark. So just lining up the pencil with the paper and then kind of making a little mark, and then, oh, I forgot, you need glue as well. So you will need a glue stick. And then the first time around I thought, yeah, how long does how wide does the piece of paper have to be for me to wrap a pencil? And I think the first time around I just had a look and just thought, okay, if I did it this way round, roughly, if I wanted the end bit to overlap a little bit, I would probably need this much paper, so I just did kind of a rough estimate to make sure that I've got it. Okay, so let's just have a look. This is 3 centimeters, and well, you could say roughly 3.5 centimeters, and I did make sure that I would add a little bit extra so I can overlap the last bit of the paper. So what I can do when I cut it out, I can just cut the paper for all 3 pencils. So I'm just going to quickly do that. But as I said, if you were doing it with a pair of scissors, I would probably recommend that you make you know, pencil lines so that you can cut along the pencil line. But I think you would have done that anyway. Don't need to tell you. Okay, now I've got my 3 bits of paper. I can start with my first pencil. I did try and cover pencils that were completely round. This one has, I don't know, is it six corners? I never counted, to see if one of them would be easier to cover than the other, but I didn't find it made any difference. So it doesn't really matter from my point of view if it's, you know, a completely round pencil or this one. Maybe this one is easier to roll because you can kind of like roll from one side to the next. But let's get started. I'll just get a piece of paper. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit of glue to like one edge of the paper. The reason why I'm not covering the whole bit of paper, because very often paper, once you put the glue on, it starts to kind of roll up, and then I find it more difficult to work with. Okay, and this way we kind of just start with one end and carefully glue it on. Okay, actually this is a little bit too long. I should have cut a bit shorter. It doesn't matter. And then I'll just carry on adding glue. Just have to make sure that you cover the whole paper with glue, so when you're rolling it up, make sure you only roll it as far as you've got some of the glue on the paper. Okay, and then I'm just rolling it along nicely. Whereas I would, I think a thicker paper will be a bit more difficult to glue on because it will be a bit more stubborn, and kind of paper that is too thin could possibly create a problem as well, because it might rip or it might kind of wrinkle. But this paper has the consistency of just normal printer paper, and it is actually normal printer paper, so it's okay. And I think most wrapping paper should be okay. But you can always do sort of a test pencil to see how it works out. Okay, and then we've got the first one. I am going to cut, take a little bit off at the top of the paper for the next pencil. Right, and now I've got all three pencils covered in the paper. So our pencils are done. If you would like to carry on and make one of those little boxes for the pencils, then keep watching.